Happy Tuesday. We're going to start today by looking at those problems you worked yesterday. Go ahead and get your workout from yesterday and check along as I work these with you. So we had problem number 1, which was 985 divided by 5. So we're going to start by saying how many times will 5 go into 9? 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10, which is greater than 9. So we know we've got to go with 1. We're going to write down our 5, and 9 minus 5 leaves us with 4. We're going to bring down our 8 for 48. So how many times will 5 go into 48? We know that 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 9 is 45. 5 times 10 is 50. And 50 is too much because it's greater than 48. So we know we've got to go with 9. And that leaves us with 45. And 48 minus 45 leaves us with 3. We're going to bring down this last digit right here for 35. How many times will 5 go into 35? We know that 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 7 is 35. So we're going to write our 7 up here, write our 35 down here, and 35 minus 35 is 0. So we have no remainder. Looking at problem number 2, we have 804 divided by 6. So how many times will 6 go into 8? 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 is larger than 8, so we know we've got to go with 1. So 8 minus 6 gives us 2. We're going to bring down our 0. For 20, how many times does 6 go into 20? 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 is too much because it's larger than 20, so we know we've got to go with 3. So we're going to have 18. And 20 minus 18 leaves us with just 2. We're going to bring down this last digit and put it right beside our 2 for 24. And we said 6 times 3 is 18, so 6 times 4 is 24. So that goes perfect to 24. So 24 minus 24 is 0. So we will have no remainder once again. Let's go ahead and move on to problem number 3 from yesterday. We have 8,454 divided by 3. So how many times will 3 go into this first digit, 8? 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 is greater than 8, so we know we've got to go with 2. And that's going to be 6. So 8 minus 6 leaves us with 2. We're going to bring down this digit right here. How many times will 3 go into 24? We know that 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24, so that goes great. So we're going to do 24 right here. And 24 minus 24 is 0, and we're going to bring down this 5 right here. So how many times does 3 go into 5? 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6, which is greater than 5, so we know we've actually got to go with 1. So we're going to put our 3 under this 5, and 5 minus 3 leaves us with 2. We're going to bring down our 4, and we've already done 24 right here before, so we're going to use the same digit we did before, which was 8, and 3 times 8 was 24. And 24 minus 24 is 0, so we again have no remainder. And let's take one look at this last problem right here. This is 3,746 divided by 9. This one was a little tricky to start out because we have 9 going into 3. However, 9 is already larger than 3, so we cannot do that. So we're going to look at the first 2 digits. So we're going to look at it as 9 going into 37. So 9 times 3 is 27, which is close, but 9 times 4 is 36, which is really close. So we're going to go with 4. We're going to do 36, and that's going to leave us with 1. We're going to bring down our 4. So 9 into 14, that's going to be 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18, so we know we actually only can go with 1. So we're going to put that here. 14 minus 9 leaves us with 5. We're going to bring down our 6. And how many times does 9 go into 56? So 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. So we're going to write down, because that's pretty close, so we know we're not going to get much closer than that. So we're going to write down 9 times 6 is 54. And that's going to leave us with a remainder of 2. Okay, you also had this problem right here, which was 765 divided by 3. And it wanted you to write a story problem, give an estimate, and guess whether or not it was going to have a remainder. So for our story problem, we could say that we are looking at all the apples that we've got. We're comparing our apples. So what color apples do we have? We've got green, and we've got red, and we've got yellow. And let's say that we have 300 green because they're the best. And we'll say that we have 265 red, and that we have 200 yellow. Now, whatever numbers we write, we need to make sure they add up to 765 so that it matches this problem. So we need to do our mental math to make sure that all 3 of these numbers that we write down add up to this so that our problem works. So looking at here, we're going to estimate by finding the middle of all of these numbers. So we're going to guesstimate our highest number is 300 and our lowest number is 200. So I'm going to estimate that our average number of apples for each color is going to be about 250. And we see here that we're going 3 into 765, so we're going to say remainder or not. And I do not believe there will be a remainder because we see that these last 2 digits are divisible by 15, I know, and 3 goes into 15. So I do not believe there will be a remainder. All right, let's go ahead and work our problem. So how many times does 3 go into 7? 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, which is just lower than 7. So we're going to go with 2. And we're going to have 7 minus 6. It leaves us 1. We're going to bring down the 6. How many times does 3 go into 16? 3 times 5 is 15, which is really close. And 3 times 6 is 18, which is too much. So we know we've got to go with 5. We're going to write down 15. And 16 minus 15, once again, leaves us with 1. And we've got right here, we're going to bring down that last 5. And 15 again, and we just said that 3 times 5 is 15. So 15 minus 15. And we did not know remainder. Let me see here. So we estimated 250. And we ended up having an average of 255 of each color of the apples. So we weren't too far off. We're going to do this next few sheets together. It's called Family Math Night Worksheet. So it says, every year King's School holds a big math night in the spring. They invite all the families to come from 6:30 to 8 p.m. for refreshments, math games, and prizes. They also award a big prize to the classroom that brings in the most families. King's School has 28 classrooms. The line plot below shows how many families came to math night this year. So right here we've got our line plot, and it shows us the number of families of each classroom is represented by an X. So number of families, and each one of these X's is a classroom. So we have 28 X's because it said we have 28 classrooms. So how many families did the winning classroom bring to the math night? So the winning classroom brought the most families. So we're going to look for the highest X on our number of families here, and we see that we've got one all the way up here at 18. So they brought 18 families. The next part asks, how many families did most of the classrooms bring in? So we want to find the number that has the most X's. And looking at our line plot here, it looks like this one right here has the most X's all the way up to right here. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 classrooms brought in 14 families. So how many families did most of the classrooms bring in? 14 families. Use the information from the line plot to complete the chart below. So right here we're going to look, and this one says one classroom had 11 families. So total number of families, 1 times 11 equals 11 families. And we see that's represented right here with this 1x at 11 families. And then we've got number 2. It says 2 classrooms brought 12 families. So 2 times 12 equals 24 families. And we see that represented right here again with these 2 X's at 12. And then it said 7 classrooms brought in 13 families. So it says 7 times 13, and we've got a blank right there. So we need to get our scratch paper out, and we need to multiply 7 by 13 to find out how many families came right here. So 13 times 7, and 7 times 3 is 21. We're going to carry our 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus those extra 2 is 91. Wow, that's a lot of families. So we've got 91 right there. Next, it wants us to tell this blank right here, how many classrooms brought in 14 families? And we've already numbered out right here under 14, and we know that we've got 8 classrooms that brought in 14 families. So we're going to fill in our blank again over here for 8 classrooms times 14 equals how many families? So we're going to get our scratch paper back out, and we've got 14 families by the 8 classrooms. 8 times 4 is 32. We're going to carry our 3. 8 times 1 is 8, plus those 3 is 11. So that is 112 families. Next, we're going to look here at 6 classrooms brought how many families? So we keep on moving up the line here. We see we've got 11, 12, 13, 14. So just by looking, I think this one's going to be 15. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the classroom brought 6 of these X's, 6 classrooms brought 15 families. So 6 times 15 is what we are looking for. How many families? So 15 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. We're going to carry our 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 equals 9. So that is 90 families. And then we're going to look at 16. How many X's are at 16? That represents the classrooms that brought 16 families. And we've only got 2 X's right here. 1, 2. So we're going to fill in our blank here for 2 times 16 equals how many families? Let's get our scratch sheet back out. And we've got 16 times 2. 2 times 6 equals 12. Carry your 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. So there were 32 families. And for this last one, it wants us to say how many classrooms brought 17 families is 1. So we're filling in our classroom right here times 17 families. And 1 times 17 is 17. So looking at this next sheet, we're going to refer back to our line plot chart that we did on the previous page. And it asks, Sarah thinks the average number of families that came to Math Night from each classroom is 14. Do you agree with Sarah? So we're going to look at our line plot chart, and we know our average is out of all the classrooms, if they were evenly divided up and everybody brought the same amount, how many families did they bring? And we see here that the most common number was 14. There were 8 classrooms that brought 14 families. So saying that the average would be somewhere around 14 is gonna be, I would say that would be pretty close. If you think the average is 14 families per classroom, explain why. If you think the average is not 14 families, tell why you think it is and explain why. We're going to say, I think the average is 14 families because the highest number of classrooms have 14 families. Okay, use the standard algorithm for long division to find the average number of families per classroom that came to math night at King's School. So before we start that, remember we need to add up all of our families and divide it by our classrooms. So if we look over here, we're going to add up all of these X's and how many they stand for, and then we're going to divide it by our 28 classrooms. So let's do some math on our extra sheet. And we have got all of these are over here. So, all right, we've worked out all except for 18 on this handy dandy chart right here. And it tells us how many families we've got. So for this one, we've got 11 families, and then 24 families, and then 91 families, and then 112 families, and then 90 families, 32, 17, and always be sure we make sure we get everything because they didn't ask us for number 18. So we're gonna write right here, 18. All right, we're gonna add all of this up. So 1 plus 4 is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 17, 25. We're gonna carry our 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, 15, 24, 27, 28, 29, and carry that 2. I think we've only got one that has a third digit. So right here, 2 plus 1 is 3. So we had 395 families. So we want to take that information and plug it in right here. 395 divided by those 28 classrooms. So we know, looking at this, that 28 times 2 is probably going to be bigger than 39 because 39 is only 11 more than 28. So we're going to go ahead and just say that 28 times 1 is what we're going to start with. So 39 minus 28 is going to leave us with 11. And we're going to bring down this last 5 for 115. Wow. So let's go ahead and get some scratch sheet. We may have to try a few numbers here to see how much we're going to go with. But 28 times, let's say, 3. 3 times 8 is 24. We're going to carry our 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus those last 2 is 84. I think we can fit one more in there. So 28 times 4. 4 times 8 is 32. We're going to carry our 3. 4 times 2 is 8, plus those last 3 is 11. So 112 is pretty close to 115. So we're going to put our 4 right up here. We're going to write 112 right down here. And we're going to have 3. 115 minus 112 is going to leave us with a remainder of 3. So the average number of families per classroom was 14. We were right. Sarah was right. Awesome. So go ahead and work those next few problems. And if you have any questions, comment below.